recruited you, how you ended up at WVU, those pre-bits of information there about you before we started playing at WVU.
Sure. Again, thanks for having me. It's awesome to be here and to be talking to hopefully some Mountaineer fans out there. I went to high school at Portsmouth Clay High School, so a small town in Portsmouth, or a small school in Portsmouth, Ohio, also a small town. My mom and dad still live there to this day. I got recruited from I would say anywhere to 20 to 30 offers, a lot of mid-majors. I will say probably the largest schools were Purdue and West Virginia. And at that time, believe it or not, was when George Mason made that run. And I will tell you that was a hard West Virginia, hands down, was my pick. But the second close pick would have been George Mason, because Jim Larinaga seemed like an amazing coach and human being. I remember we talked a lot back during that year of, when you were deciding where you wanted to go. And I just was so impressed by him. But obviously coming here, I got to come to the Virginia Tech football game. And I think it's when Marcus, not Michael, but Marcus had maybe double birded the fans. So I attended that game with a lot of the other guys I actually went to college with for the 5 years that I was there. But after I got there and saw the crowd, saw the fans, saw the environment, saw the school, the town, the Coliseum, I remember telling Dad, like this is the one, I'm going to come here. And I still say to this day, I think he was happier that day than I was. He was more proud and happy than me. But
did you and this no knock at all in your game? I mean, you're not somebody that comes down the floor and dribbles behind your back 2 or 3 times, pulls up, takes a jumper from 3-point line. Your size, obviously you're a big guy, but in looking at players height wise, not anything unusual. Did you just sit back in time and say, man, am I good enough to do this? I'm just curious to know what the appeal was from the coaching, the college coaches side of it.
Well, believe it or not, Greg, and Hugs doesn't believe this, I'm sure, till this day, that Beeline recruited me as a shooting guard. One of the folks that he had in mind for me to replace was Joe Hairbear, if you remember him. I
absolutely remember him.
Right after that class, after a very successful group, came through. Big shoes to fill. And then I got hurt my senior year of high school, so I didn't play my senior year of high school. And then I redshirted my first year because I was still recovering from that. And I think there were 8 or 9 of us that came in that first year, and we all couldn't play. And so Coach Beeline redshirted a few of us. And then I had another kind of major knee injury that required surgery, and I lost my shot in all of that. I feel like, and I think there's also something it doesn't take long for you to look around, Greg, as you just mentioned, and say, okay, these guys are all bigger than me. These guys are all faster than me. These guys can all jump higher than me. They can shoot better than me. So I quickly realized that I got a few ways to get on this court. Number one is I'm going to play harder than anyone else. And, that's the thing that always sucked. Like, the guys at practice could maybe take off a little bit, but I couldn't, because if the second I took any play off, I got showed up. So I had to always be on my game. And then I knew every single play. I was like an extended coach on the floor. I knew every play of the other team through scouting reports. I knew every single play on our team. I knew where every single player needed to be. I could tell you, I could run any position on the whole court with the whole – Hugs had a big sheet of plays, probably 50 to 70 plays, and I could tell you every single one of them where someone was supposed to be. And I think the other thing is I knew how to get the ball. I guarded the other team's best player down low, and I knew how to get the ball or to get the right person to open. I knew how to get Truck a shot or Deshaun a shot or whoever it was that needed a shot at that moment in time. And I knew my role and where I stood. So it was pretty early on to me that there was a way for me to be successful there, and that's what I did.
Yeah, I bet if we put that on the bingo card that Cam Thoroughman was recruited as a shooting guard. Not too many people would have that on their
They do
card
not, Greg. They
after
do not.
watching it. Yeah, but I think anybody that watched you play, it's pretty clear, what you felt like you had to do to play, and you did it. You played 100% all the time, and tough, physical, and fans fell in love with you here. I do remember that, and so fun to watch you guys. Talk a little bit about that experience with. I mean, you guys had quite a run, and uh, I mean, it was just not just that one year, but several years of just fantastic basketball.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, if you look at, like, in the last 50 years, if you look at the football and the basketball records at the same time, you got to think during that time that we were there in that kind of '04 to 2011 time period, we were one of the most successful universities from a basketball and football
Yep.
standpoint. I think we were ranked every single year in and out. I think we finished most years in the top 25 in both of those, and several years we're up there in the top 5. I mean, I'll never forget whenever we lost to Pitt in that unfortunate game. It's still a topic of conversation every Thanksgiving at our house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was an incredible time to be there. I mean, the first year we missed out on the NCAA tournament, we go win the NIT in incredible fashion. And then the next year we upset Duke to go to the Sweet 16. That environment in Washington, D.C., wow. That same year, I think, no, our freshman year we beat UCLA at home. Like, fans rushed the court. I remember my first time, I was scared myself. Like, when all those fans are coming out there, like, what the hell is going to happen? Then my third year, we got upset. I believe that year was we don't like to remember that. I think that was the 6-11 game in Minneapolis in the old RCA Dome when we lost to Dayton. And then in 2010, we made that unbelievable run down the stretch, winning 11 straight, winning the Big East tournament on that stage. My parents were there. They were sitting just off to the left of the basket on our end where we sat. So they got to take in that moment. And then to go on and make that Final Four run and beat Kentucky, where I grew up, like, it's Ohio State football and Kentucky basketball. And, to be able to beat them, especially at that moment in time and that time to, 6 NBA players they had, it was just, it's like, it was magical to be on that run.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I know it was a good time. And yeah, you mentioned that Kentucky team, a lot of NBA players on there, and some daggone good NBA players too.
Right.
Everybody in the NBA is good, but these guys, a couple of them were even exceptional at that level. So that was pretty impressive. So you got to experience, I guess, a little bit of Beeline and Huggins. Is that correct?
1 year, and then we thought Hugs was going to. We honestly thought, because there were like 8 of us, I believe, and we thought that Hugs was probably going to come in. His style of basketball was very different than Beeline. Probably can't get polar opposites. But he never took that approach whatsoever. I remember to this day, one of the things I took away from our first meeting with him was how calm he was and how quiet he was compared to what you see on TV, all the time. And then the other thing he said, he's like, I want you to remember this. He's like, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, but it's going to be the most rewarding. And boy, was it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true to fashion. And back then I was coaching basketball in high school, and I would go to clinics, and it was interesting to see the difference in Coach Beeline's clinic and then Coach Huggins' clinic. And, at Coach Beeline's clinic, the coaches would get up and talk, of course, and demonstrate things, and Coach Beeline would be out there helping them doing this. Well, when I go to Huggins, a couple of times he'd come over and just sit down beside me, and we just sit there and talk while the other coaches were talking about something. He and I were talking about moonshine and different things like that. So it's quite a contrast between the two, but both great coaches, and I'm sure that was. That's got to be a positive too, to get to play for 2 guys like that, 2 legendary coaches, really.
There were some things we took, and we actually were shared with Hugs, and we're like, look, we should keep doing this. And Hugs was open to it. Hugs let us, almost coach ourselves. I mean, you look back at that crew of of 8 that came in there. I mean, you got Deshaun, you got myself, Johnny West, Joe Mazzulla, Wellington Smith, a couple of other guys left, but those are the ones that stayed around. And it's like we were all, to a certain degree, extended coaches on the floor, right? Like we were very high IQ basketball players.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it shows today. Look, I think Wellington had made a post the other day on LinkedIn or something, just kind of looking back at, how successful that we've all been and just our personal lives after the fact, after basketball. And I just think it's a testament to who we were, back then and, who we are today.
Yeah. I know you mentioned one there in particular, of course, Joe Mazzulla coaching at Boston. Joe and I became friends through my son. They're really good friends. And my son coaches college basketball, and Joe was still coaching college at the time. And I've told this story a lot of times. I've never seen a person, and I told my son this. I said, watch the way he works and mimic that, and you'll make it in this profession. I've never seen anybody work harder, is more diligent. And I'll sit and listen to him talk about basketball. And I coached basketball for 30 years. They were speaking a language I had never heard. I didn't even know what they were talking about half the time. And I just thought they're so cerebral and smart. And you knew Joe was going to make it. I never dreamed he would make it where he made it so fast. But that's an indication of what the intellect was on that team, and you could tell. I mean, you could watch it and tell. And I know Huggins talked about it a lot, about how he had coaches on the floor with you guys. I remember him talking about that, and I know that's holds a special place for him. It was that team as well, because you could tell he had a real love for you guys.
I think it was mutual. Maybe not every day at practice, but after we got done at practice.
Well, he may have even mellowed out a little bit later on. I don't know. It didn't seem like it.
I told him that too. Man, he got soft. All of them did up there. Larry, all the guys they soft. Nothing like what we had.
Do you still watch? I mean, I'm sure you still pay attention to the program. You still watch a lot of games, W games, and get your thoughts on the team right now.
Sure. I'll be honest. I don't have a ton of thoughts. I try to watch almost every game. We watched the unfortunate game the other night, and I missed. I was coaching my son. I missed the Kansas game, so I didn't even get to see that. Those noon games are not good for a father with 2 kids who are in sports on the weekends. Like, those noon games are no fun. I got to meet Coach Hodge this summer. I went up and saw John Flowers. John and I still talk quite a bit. I invested some money with him as well. He's doing a good job for me. So there's a plug out there to Jay Flo. He's in the investment business with Edward Jones, and he's done well for me so far. So he introduced me to Coach Hodge, and hey, he seemed like a great guy. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I feel like Hodge is a better fit than DeVries was. I feel like he resonates with who we are as a university, as a state, as the people of West Virginia. And it's just like Hugs did. I think that's why Hugs was such a perfect fit. He came back home, and we're not at West Virginia. We're not, the blue blood, or we don't have the unlimited funds that some of these do. And I think to be able to have a coach that has a tie to West Virginia is so important, because otherwise they're going to take the next step, and you can't blame them as soon as they have any success. And so I think that's just something that, but Coach Hodge has had success. I love his energy. He seems like a great person. I always tell people, if you're a good person, like, I'll figure it out with you. Like,
yeah.
And so that's so important to me. He gave me, he would have probably sat there and talked to me for 30 minutes if I wanted to, just because I think it was kind of a respect thing for him. And so, hey, I'm a cheerleader. I don't have a lot to the NIL. I mean, that's changed the game so much. I get frustrated with it, from not because I don't think the players should benefit from it, because I certainly think they should do that. I mean, there's millions of dollars made from the product that they're putting on the floor, but the way in which the NCAA did it by refusing to address it and do anything about it, and then being forced by a court decision, and then you go into this thing with no rules, and it's chaos. It just makes being a fan, and whether it's West Virginia or just a fan in general, it makes it hard. Like, there's no allegiance to teams, there's no tie to it. So that has been a little bit disappointing, and I'm hopeful that it will still get fixed. Like, I'm not saying we should go back to where it was by any means, because I certainly agree with, the pay for play, but there's got to be some parameters around it. Right now, I don't know if there's anything. It's like,
yeah, we've talked about that at length on here. I think we're all in agreement that the players should be paid, and they deserve that because there is so much money made, by the institutions and all that they should definitely be paid. But to go in with no rules like that, we call it the Wild West all the time, football, basketball, both. It's just crazy. And I was listening to a show this morning. They were talking about the going rate for a top tier quarterback. And I was like, my gosh, why would these guys not just stay in college? I mean, they're making some of them $2-3 million. I mean, if you can do that in college. The other thing
that I think is so the problem with it all is just the fact of giving an 18 to a 20-year-old that much money. I mean, my parents have always taken great care of me and provided a good life for me. So I didn't need much, but at the same time, we didn't have to spend a lot of money, and we still had a pretty good college, lifestyle and career. Like, we look back on those times, and to give somebody $500,000 or $1 million at the age 18, I feel like it's irresponsible. It's almost dangerous. It's like you are setting them up for a limited success. And it's like, how could you not take some of that money and put it in a trust or put it in something almost like a retirement that, hey, you can have some of it now because, hey, you earned that and you should. And if you want to blow it, that's on you. But at the same time, I'm not going to let you blow it all. And I'm going to put half of it into this thing that at age 30, you get a dollar amount. At age 35, you get a dollar amount. At age 40, you get a dollar amount, so that people can have a chance. Because what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of money wasted, and you're going to hear stories, the Antoine Walker story, where they made all this money and they have nothing to show for it because they had no financial responsibility at all. And most of the people don't know. I wasn't the most financially responsible, and I went to college at age 18.
Yeah.
So,
Owen Smith and I had that same conversation, and he basically said the same thing I said. If I'm 18 years old and somebody hands me $100,000, I know what I'm going to do. Yeah, and these guys are getting all this money. Some of them will do fine with it, but again, I think that's part of the idea, the rules that need to be put in place is these guys need to be educated a little bit in how to take care of it. They need financial advisors and people to help them with that money. Because, I mean, let's face it, a young person could blow through a couple $100,000 in a year or two and not have anything to show. Otherwise, they could take care of it, do what's right, and be set up for life, which is what should happen, But yeah, they've got to get some rules around this thing because it's like I said, it's a mess right now. I'm gonna quit babbling here. Let Frank jump in. Frank, you want to jump in and talk to Cam here for a minute?
Well, this was a great conversation, guys. I'm a fan, so I really, really enjoyed what you guys were talking about. But just to follow up your last point, some people forget that Carson Beck was basically, he declared for the draft last year, and Miami enticed him out of it, and now he's playing in the national championship game as quarterback. I have no idea exactly how much he signed for that, but to leave, not go into the draft and go back to college. But I do know it was reported today that Ty Simpson at Alabama is getting all kinds of offers in the portal, and one reported by On3 was $6.5 million. They didn't name the school, but they're all between $4 and $7 million to play 1 year. That's how much money is being thrown around, and a lot of us believe that this is really, it ruins sort of the core, obviously, of the sport. But be that as it may, one of the things that you and I talked about that we wanted to talk about, Cam, is life after WVU. And you mentioned having a conversation with John and others, and we've had John Flowers on the show. How well you guys have done, family men. We've got a picture that Darrin will put up that you sent us of your beautiful family. And I might mention a beautiful family dog too. Your wife, Rebecca. Do you want to talk a bit first about your family while we have that picture up?
Sure. All right. So disregard me there. Everyone else in the family is beautiful. So just to my left there, or to right, I guess how you're looking at it, is my wife, Becca. We've been married for over 10 years, and we have Gavin, who's sitting right there in front, who is almost 10 years old. And then I have Gabriella that's kind of tucked away on my lap there. She is 5 years old. They are the light of our world. Anything and everything that we do is probably related to them in some fashion. And then we had a dog together of 15 years, and she unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. And we went through that grieving stage of, all right, we don't need a dog. Nobody can replace Maddie. And one night we decided we're going to go get Nash there, who's sitting on my son's lap. And the next morning at 10 o'clock, I told my wife, I said, I'm not this stupid. We're coming back with 2 dogs when we went for 1. But we did it. It's a story that we laugh about quite often, but they're amazing little pups too. So thankful and grateful for my family.
Yeah, fantastic. A lot of people may not know that you have 2 degrees from WVU, a bachelor's degree in business. Then you went back and got a labor and industrial relations degree. Excellent program at WVU, one of the best in the country. And you've had a great career in business, both in oil and steel. Vice president now, right, of human resources. Talk about that, where you're working right now for North Star Blue. Let me get this right. It's North Star Blue Scope Steel. Yeah, yes. I got it right. I could read my handwriting. Talk about what you're doing with them and how long you've been with them, and a little bit about your job.
Yeah, so I was with Marathon out of school for almost 14 years, and I've been at North Star for just over 1 year, and it's been one hell of a journey. It's a culture that I love, that I knew whenever I went there and interviewed with them that this is a place that I wanted to be, and that I could, their personalities match mine. I've got an amazing team there. I work with amazing people, and, right now we're making a product, hot rolled coil steel, that is selling at a pretty good price in America. So,
wow, and we talk about this all the time. Greg knows it for sure. Is that one of the things that the 2 things about tonight, I would say, just looking at what you said earlier. I mean, that's got to rev up any Mountaineer. That's the Mountaineer spirit. That it's not necessarily that you're the most talented person on the floor, but you have the tenacity. You have the dedication, and you're going to contribute in ways that not only will put you on the floor, but will contribute to the team and wins. And obviously, you played in 117 games during your time at West Virginia. And the other thing is that, it's so easy to forget what players do after they leave the university. But they have careers, and one of the things we've seen over and over again, and you're another example of this, an illustration of the same kind of tenacity. And what we hear time and time again is the attitude that you took in athletics. That doesn't end after you graduate. You keep that attitude, team oriented, make a contribution, find a way to add value. And you said something very important. That is that you're part of a culture, and you want to be in a culture that is supportive, that you're producing a good product. And I love the comment you made. If you're a good person, you're going to find a way. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that same way about you, Cam.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, if you go back over my 15-year career here in HR, both at Marathon and at North Star. I think you can go back to any colleague that I worked with, and they'll tell you I brought that same type of attitude and commitment to wherever I was in the workplace. Like whether it's, taking out the trash or helping clean up or going out to try to help, an operator do a job or, a specific HR matter that needs to be addressed. They know that I'm going to bring my whole self in there. They're going to get somebody that's got a can-do attitude, that's willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And I think that's been one of the things that's helped me be successful in my life is I owe that to basketball and to what that taught me. Like I always will be the first to say, especially in HR, we recruit a lot of people. Being a college athlete, depending on who you talk to, can be a really good thing or it can be a really bad thing, based upon how someone thinks that, someone gets their grades or they don't really go to get an education. They're just there to play sports. Well, I knew when I went to West Virginia, I was probably not leaving there playing more basketball. So with the 5 years, I wanted to get my master's degree so I could get, a decent job whenever I got out. And so, I've always, carried that with me, wherever I go.
Yeah, it comes through. I'll tell you what, Greg, it's sort of like I want to suit up right now and play, but I want to be on Cam's team.
Oh shit. I don't know about that, Frank. We better have a lot of people on the bench.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you, Frank, I coached basketball for 30 years and over the years I had players that played like that. They weren't the most talented, may not score 20 points a game, but they hustled, they played hard, they did everything you asked them to do. Those types of players are invaluable. And you look at their teams, and you had some big names on there. Deshaun and Joe and Johnny and those guys get the headlines. But you had to have that person that was in there gritting it out and being physical and playing hard and keeping everybody going. And like I said, over the years, I had players like that, not nearly as good as Cam, obviously, but players that played the same style. And they're just invaluable to your team's success. Such an integral part. And they may not get the headlines, may not get their name up in lights, but without them, you wouldn't have the success that you had. And I think, looking back at Cam and his career, that's what could be said there. He was the guy that you could count on. He showed up every night, played hard, did what he was supposed to do, and like you said, knew all the plays, knew where everybody was supposed to be, the coach on the floor, and again, what an integral part of a team. And I just had always admired players that I had like that, and you love having guys like that, and he's no different. And I'm sure Coach Huggins thrilled to have him as he did down through those years. But just a hard-nosed player and tough player, and just fun to watch. So it's always, and Frank too, we talked a lot. Well, we talk about the then and now part of this and how successful these guys become after their time at WVU. We've had a ton of people on this show, and I don't remember anybody that I didn't walk away being impressed with, what they've done afterwards and their positions they hold, the jobs they hold, the families they have. It's amazing. Speaking of families, I want to go back to that picture just for a minute, and I'll quit rambling. But Gavin looks like he's going to be a pretty good sized lad. He got some long legs there. Is he going to be a baller?
He is a big boy. Dad is coaching Gavin in junior jackets right now. So he's on the taller end for sure. I don't think he has Dad's killer instinct quite yet, though. I'm trying to. If you've got a way to instill that in him, let me know.
Well, be patient. He's only 10.
I know. My wife says the same thing.
I was just watching the Dan Levitard show, and they had a video clip of a youth hockey game. These kids were 7, 8 years old, and they let them play during the intermission, and they had a big fight. So both teams were just out there wailing on each other. And these guys are you could pick them up with one hand and carry them off the ice, but it was so funny because two of them started fighting each other on the same team. They were just all out there fighting. They didn't know why or what. They were just fighting. So I don't know if that's something that's born into you or it's just that you got to teach. I'm not sure. But anyway, he'll get there. Is he inclined to play basketball? I mean, is that what he's sport he likes, or is he like something else?
My wife and I were laughing yesterday. We had dance, we had hockey, we had soccer, and we had basketball all last night. I got home from basketball practice last night, I think at 9:15 or 9:20. I would say his sports right now, hockey and soccer. And I just want him to like basketball and golf. But we did when he was 5 years old, when we lived in North Dakota, we did win a father-son golf scramble. It was an alternate shot golf tournament. It was only 9 holes. And we shot like a 39 and we blew the field away. It was we made actually one birdie, gross between him and I. So that was a really cool time. He still has it in his room, and he'll show people when they come over, like, hey, this is the trophy me and my dad won. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is awesome. Well, just from experience, enjoy it. And I know sometimes that gets hard with all these practices and all that. I remember them well, but they go by so fast. You look back and think, my gosh, what happened? And I know you've heard that from plenty of people, how time flies by, but yeah, with your kids, it does go by pretty quick. But beautiful family, that's awesome. And I know you're proud of them, and it's so fun to watch. Look at you guys and see where you're at and what you've done throughout. But pretty neat stuff, Frank. And I know you and I marvel always at the levels these guys have reached professionally and personally after they get out of WVU. We always talk about that, and it's so cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things you brought up, Cam, along those lines is that once you came on campus, you knew this was the place for you. And, it's easy to say, and we've said it on this show 100 times, WVU, no place actually, is for everyone. But there's something about WVU, if it's the right fit, it's just unforgettable. You just don't, even when you leave, you want to stay connected, especially for people like, the two of us that came from out of state to WVU. And I was thinking about that in terms of your comments about Coach DeVries. Tremendous coach. I watched him coach last night against Michigan State. He's got a good team there. His son did well. I think he's leading the team in rebounds. But it just wasn't the right fit. And, it just wasn't the right fit. But with Coach Hodge, it is. You can see it. The fit's there. And also with Mark Kellogg, the women's basketball, you can see the fit is there. Certainly with Rich Rod. I could go on and name other coaches. And that's really important, to be at the right place at the right time for the right reasons and not have regrets. Geez, I really shouldn't be there. I should be someplace else. It doesn't do anything for anyone. But when you look back on it, maybe, in the long term, it was best for him to leave more quickly than to stick around, because obviously the way it ended was nobody wanted that. But at least it was over quickly. So your point is a good one. And that is that you got to have that fire in the belly. You got to be a Mountaineer.
Right.
Yeah, there's you look at folks, and like when DeVries was here, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this, but like Cam said, these guys get these opportunities. Can't blame them for going, but it was almost like when he was here, you knew he wasn't going to be here long. You could just tell something about it. And I think with Coach Hodges, it's a little different. it seems like he really wants to be here. Never really got that feeling from Coach DeVries. You just kind of got the feeling that it was a stepping stone for him, and he was going to move on. I don't think anybody saw it coming so quickly or the way it transpired, but I don't think a lot of people were totally surprised by the fact that he bolted so quickly, and you just get a sense that they either want to be here or they don't want to be here. And I think the guys we have in place right now in the women's and men's programs want to be here, and I think that'll breed success down the road. And Rim Baker's, I think, an integral part of that as well. And if we can keep that intact, I think we're in pretty good hands moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have met Ren a few times as well. He'd crossed the bar as a good person, in my opinion, by the conversations that I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's, if you look at the way he's handled various issues in a very systematic, deliberate way.
Yeah.
When you think about that situation with Indiana, and also the situation at the end of the season last year with the slight by the NCAA, where the chair of the committee, his own team gets picked over West Virginia when in fact the data didn't support it. I can think of a lot of administrators and former administrators. I'm laughing because I'd happen to be one of them, where the emotions would get ahead of me. But Ren handled that simply. You can intervene in a way to make it worse. And when you're hit back to back, losing your coach, because he knew he had lost his coach, and you lose your bid to the NCAA. But he handled it, did a pivot, did a search, and before you know it, he got a really good replacement. So that's exactly what you want in a
I think he handled it so
CEO.
I think he handled it so well, Frank, because he knew what he had coming right behind there.
Yeah.
It was creating that opportunity for Hodge to come in and his connection there. So that could make you be okay with a lot of things, knowing that you had something coming behind that could arguably be better. So he could have, couldn't let that get out of there quick enough almost.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Hey, I want to go back to
it's all about how you look at it.
That's right.
That's life, right? What's the Charles Swindoll poem? Life is 90% or 10% of what actually happens to you and 90% of how you choose to react to it.
That's
there
right.
you go. Yep.
And every day we wake up, we choose to what our attitude's going to be. Is today going to be a shitty day or is today going to be a good day?
That's right.
Yep. Harker back to the kids again. You talking about soccer and hockey and those type of things, and me talking about my experiences. And I'll just say this: I don't have much experience with hockey, but my oldest son decided he wanted to play soccer one year when he was real little, and so of course we let him, and we go down to the game, and basically what it was one of them would kick the ball and 10 of them would pile up in a big pile, and then eventually somebody'd come out with a ball and run up down the field for an hour and nobody ever score or anything. So after the second game match, whatever it's called, we were on the way home, and normally I never wouldn't let him quit. I tell him, you started, you got to finish it. He said, Dad, I don't really think I like soccer. And I was like, well, maybe we should try something else. I told my wife, I said, thank the Lord.
Oh, goodness.
I
don't know shit about hockey or soccer, man. Like, those are both sports I'm learning, but I can't even help in hockey. At least in soccer, I can go out there and track down a ball or something.
Yeah.
In hockey, I can't even go on the ice because I can't stand up.
That'd be tough.
Hey, Greg, I've got a headline maybe here for you.
Okay.
Are you paying attention to the Winthrop High Point game?
I am. I'm checking it out on my phone right here right now. Yeah.
Okay. Cam, you may not know this, but Greg will talk about this. His son's an assistant coach on Winthrop. And
I was going to ask.
Talk about money. High Point has money, and there are the odds. But my God, my priest used to tell me, they're kicking their ass I mean, Winthrop is kicking their ass.
Yeah, yeah.
What is it, 53-39? Whoa.
Hey, Winthrop recruited me back in the day. Greg Marshall was there.
Yeah, yeah.
How about that?
That was way back.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember when Greg Marshall was there. Yeah, he started down there this year. He'd been at University of Pikeville for 7 or 8 years, and then got this opportunity. So
That's where my dad went to college in
Pikeville.
Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great
That's where
place.
my dad, yeah. Went to played college basketball. He always showed me all of his pictures. I think they're probably still hanging in my mom and dad's house, like where he was, a basketball player back in college. So
Awesome. I'll have to tell my son that I still have a lot of good friends down there. And, great place and great basketball program.
I think their AD is Kelly Wells. He grew up in the same area as where my dad and mom grew up.
Okay.
He was actually a really good guy too. I got to know him a little bit as a little kid. I always kind of looked up to him a little bit because he was a coach at Mason County, and they were always really good. And he coached some other stuff, and I got to know him, and he always was just one of those people you look up to as kind of like and
just a good guy. Yeah, he actually was the head coach and hired my son down there when my son first started. And Kelly has since gone to Moorhead. He's Moorhead State now as the athletic director.
Okay. My brother went to college there, so you are like all in the area. Like,
oh yeah, that's awesome.
Many, games I played at Moorhead State against OJ Mayo. If you remember OJ Mayo and Bill Warner back in the day,
I remember him a little bit. Yeah,
I had to go. They beat our butts at the in the 16th region tournament in Kentucky. We won our region. Our district. We were all excited, and they lost one game that year. Boyd County had beat them in the district finals, which means a winner and a loser play each other, and you go draw. And we drew the one team that we couldn't beat.
How about that?
Could be.
Went a little early that year.
Yeah. Well, maybe this could be another connection between you two. You're up in the Toledo area right now. Greg is a big Cleveland Browns fan. Do you follow the Browns too?
I got to be careful I answer this one. First of all, the disclaimer out there, I'm a Bengals fan. So, yes, I do watch the Browns. I do follow them. But it's usually – I can't wait to see which coach they hire to, ruin their career next, or which quarterback they bring in to ruin their career next.
It is amazing.
I said,
the Bengals aren't far behind. So
that's true. That's true. The one good thing about being a Browns fan, and I've told a lot of people this, when you're talking to your buddies or people out, and hey, who you like? Well, I like the Cowboys. Oh, I can't stand the Cowboys. Who you like? I like the Eagles. I hate the Eagles. Blah blah blah. And then you say, I like the Browns, and they're like, oh, sorry, man. They don't heckle you. They just apologize for you.
Feel sorry for you.
Sorry for you. Yeah. I've been a Browns fan. My whole life. I don't know. I'll tell you this is a funny story too. And I know people didn't sign on here to watch me, but back when I was growing up, on Sundays you got a couple of games on TV on Sunday. Was it? And back then we had black and white television, and so every Sunday they either showed the Bengals or the Browns or the Steelers. That's the only games we'd ever get. Well, when I was young, I couldn't tell the difference between the Bengals helmets and the Browns helmet. I couldn't tell the difference in the teams. I thought it was black and white TV. I just thought they were the same team. So that's how I don't know why I didn't become a Bengals fan, but I became a Browns fan then because I thought I was watching the Browns all the time. I guess half the time I was watching the Bengals, but I didn't know that. So that's how I became a Browns fan. And I've been a Browns fan my whole life. And I said I never knew many Browns fans around here. A couple of guys I knew were, but in the 80s when they got good, when they had Bernie Kosar, all kind of Browns fans started popping up, and I'm like, "Get out of here, people! You're not fans. I've lived this life of hell that I've lived through."
Yeah, I'm in the Browns territory. That's for we're close to the Lions too. I will say it's probably like a 40-40-20. So 40% Lions, 40% Browns, and then probably 20% Bengals or even other teams.
You're right.
You got your Patriots and your Cowboys and your Steelers fans everywhere.
Oh yeah.
We don't like any of those. So
Yeah.
Well,
Nah.
I was going to say, Greg, is as tough as it is to be a.
Oh, I lost him.
he's coming back.
Coming back.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. What's interesting is those Pittsburgh Steelers, for Pete's sake, to pull off that miraculous win with the missed field goal against the Ravens, get into the playoffs, and then that fourth quarter the other night. Talk about air go out of the football. It's like everything just collapsed, and then within 24 hours or so, the is gone. I mean, it's been what a rough ride over a short period of time, and now they don't have a quarterback.
I hate to admit it, I love Zach Frazier, but because he's really good, by the way. But I really did enjoy watching that. I enjoyed every second of it.
Me too.
Because I said, in my world, I don't have really anything to root for, so I have to root against. And if there's somebody to root against, it's the Steelers.
Yeah.
Hey, add Ohio State football to that too, because this is a great place to live if you don't like Ohio State football too.
Well, along those lines, Cam, this must be torture week for Buckeyes fans. I mean, I live in Fort Myers. We were talking in the winter, talking about that with you before the show, and my street is pretty much Big Ten Avenue. We're Michigan State, obviously, as we were talking about it, but we've got Purdue next door, but Michigan across the canal, but the predominant presence is Ohio State. And for Indiana to be in the national championship game and the Buckeyes not be, are you experiencing passive aggressive behavior on the part of, or maybe just aggressive behavior on the part of the Buckeyes fans where you are?
I think they're still in denial. I don't think they've realized that they're out of it yet. So they haven't talked a lot about it. Or they'll just go back to we beat Michigan this year, so they'll rest everything on that, I guess.
That's right. Yeah.
It's funny, though. Those Ohio State fans, they infest everywhere. It's like you can't stop them from coming in no matter where you go. It's like even to Cape Coral, Florida, here they come.
Oh, they are. I mean, we're bookended with Ohio State fans. They put out their flags and so on. It's amazing. But, that's the great thing about college sports. My wife and I come from Western New York, and I can't tell you, college football, college basketball, particularly now, wasn't like that back in the day when we were growing up. But the way it is now is college football just doesn't register on the radar screen. In Western New York, it's the Bills. It's
my boss. The president of our company is actually a Bills fan, so I've actually started to follow them more. So,
yeah,
I'm actually that's who I'm rooting for at this point. Like with everybody left, like let's go Bill. And hey, Josh Allen seems like a good guy. The coach there, McDermott, seems like a good dude. They've been in the Mahomes trap for 6 years. It's like they finally have a chance, and I'm like, can you guys do it this year?
Yeah, the window is now. I mean, they know that.
Yeah.
And but it's who do you have in the national championship game? By the way, do you follow football much?
I'll definitely be watching it. I mean, I think Indiana. It's hard to say. I mean, I think you have to make the arguments. I'm not trying to be a sports expert, but you'd have to argue that Indiana could be going down arguably as the best team ever in college football from who they've beaten and how they've beaten them on this run, and a lot because the other teams before this never had the opportunity to play as many games or to play the same number of high-level opponents. But they have, in my opinion, these last 2 games, beating Oregon and Alabama, 2 top 10 who've had really good wins as well throughout their year, high-caliber programs, and they just destroyed. I mean, it wasn't even close.
That's right. And they're reloading. If you look at the portal, they're reloading.
They said they're number 1.
Yeah, I mean, they got Hoover is the quarterback at TCU. Is going to be their incoming quarterback. They're doing very, very well. They've got money behind that as well. And so, talk about denial. on the Indiana side, the denial is coming from SEC fans. And, you hear it over and over again. Oh, if they had to play the schedule we play in the SEC, they wouldn't be undefeated. And so it's like, we really can't accept this. Alabama's not there, Georgia's not there. And it's, my own opinion is I think we're beginning to see the impact of portal and nil, teams that have not been successful. All of a sudden, they're successful because they have good coaches, they have good administration, they have the money behind it. And it's not just in football. I went back to the numbers. Greg knows I'm a nerd. Nebraska is undefeated in basketball. They won again last night. They're like 17-0. When was the last time Nebraska basketball won 10 games? They got a great coach in Hoiberg, and that team is on the court. They look a lot like Indiana looks like on the football field. Extremely well prepared. They're clinical in their approach, and they beat you. They just beat you, and it's quite amazing. But no one's done what Indiana has done. They're 8.5-point favorites. I presume that we already know where Darrin is. Our producer is. He's got to go with Indiana. His wife went to Indiana, got her medical degree there. But Greg, I imagine you're Indiana too, maybe or not. We haven't talked about it.
Well, I'm pulling for Indiana. I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I think that spread's a little bit too wide because one thing I look at is Miami's offensive line is huge, and of course everybody was compared to Indiana's, but I just think the offensive defensive lines for Miami are awfully good, which I think is going to keep them in the game. And I always all year long I'd say, well, it's Indiana, and then I start watching them play, and I'm like, man, these guys are good. They really are a good team. They're older, and they got some pro level guys playing. Of course, the Heisman Trophy winner. It's hard not to pick Indiana to win. I don't know that. I'll probably pull for Indiana. I'm just looking forward to watching. I think it's going to be a closer game though than what most people think. I think Indiana probably will win, but I think Miami can.
Yeah, I agree. For me, I think it comes down to how well Carson Beck can play.
Yeah.
Got no turnovers. See if he can complete. He got a good running back. He's got good wide receivers. He is really experienced. He's going to be a pro quarterback. There's no question about that. It's amazing to me that he's not getting the attention that Mendoza is with the pros. People say that Mendoza's a lock for Las Vegas, and Lord knows, they need all the help they can get. The Jets do too, but he's a really good quarterback. Closer to home, there's a little better news than there was about 15 minutes ago, and that is that TCU was really knocking the tar out of the Mountaineers. It was 25-12 at one time, but West Virginia has now crawled back into it. Let me make sure I get the right score here. It's something like, there it is, 29-23 at halftime at TCU, Women Mountaineers. And, they just dismantled an incredibly good Iowa State team the other night at Ames. They had been undefeated for so long, and now they've lost 3 in a row. And Mountaineers went in there and just knocked them for a loop. And then the men's Mountaineers, they have that great win against Kansas, and then Kansas goes out and beats Iowa State men, just kills them last night. And then Houston is so good. What do you guys, from having coached and played the game, your thoughts about the men's team? Where do you see this team settling in the Big 12, given what you've seen of them so far? Greg, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can. I think they're going to find themselves eventually. I think there's a lot of talent on that team. I just think when you bring in rosters like this, and you have to put together a roster of new faces, it takes time. And I think one of the harder things for WVU being in this conference is that this is a heck of a basketball conference, and trying to figure out where everybody's supposed to be and who's supposed to be where and what your rotations are and all those type of things. When you're doing it against really high quality opponents, makes that difficult sometimes, and I think it takes a little longer. I think there's some talent there that just if they can gel and all put together good games at the same time, you can see what they can do, like against Kansas. But then they have games like the next night, the next game, where it just seems like one or two are performing well and the others are not. So I think it's just a matter of chemistry, getting them playing together more and getting comfortable with their rotations and what they're doing. I think they're going to be fine, and I think it's going to take a while. And Coach Hodges is a defensive minded coach, and it's getting players to play defense at a high level for the whole game is difficult, and you got to get that type of player in there to do that. And I think given time, they're going to be fine. I don't see them winning a NCAA championship this year, but I think they're going to be fine. They've shown flashes of being really, really good. Then they've shown flashes of being really, really bad. And that inconsistency, I think, is just a matter of playing together and getting that chemistry and all those things, figuring out roles and figuring out rotations and all that. And once they do that, I think they'll settle in and be fine.
Yeah. What do you think?
Frank, I don't know that I don't have the greatest opinion. I think what I'll add here is, listen, you're not supposed to go on the road at Houston and win.
That's right.
So that, in my opinion, that is what it is. That's when you're a player and you go circle, or you're a coach and you go look at your schedule and you go circle your games. And if your goal is make an NCAA run or whatever it is, it's like you start circling. You look out there, you're like, we should win this one. That's going to be a tough one. I mean, timing and where you're playing is everything. And when I was in school or when I played, I can't necessarily speak today, but those crowds, they can inspire things. Like we would go to Rutgers when they're 1-15 in the league, and it's like one of the last games of the year, and we need a win to get a certain seed. And hell, it's like they haven't really won hardly anything, and we go there and the crowd is crazy and they're throwing in threes, and it's just like, holy shit, what did we walk into? And it was like, whether you went to Rutgers or Seton Hall or wherever it was like they can play the music, the fans get into it. It's like an event for them. And, a couple threes go down and you make a couple turnovers, and it's like, before you know it, you're fighting for your life against a team that, out of 20 times you'd probably beat 18 or 19. Mm-hmm. So, that is always difficult. And, just the other thing on the timing, I've never looked at this, but I would like to go back and look. If we were going to have a few days off prior to our next game, what our record was that game, because that meant if we lost, Coach Huggins now has a few extra days to kick our butts and to make us really pay for that loss. So we would know that going in, and don't think we didn't talk about stuff like that. Yeah. Or if we came off a loss, what our likely result was the next game. Mm-hmm. Because I will tell you, it was a miserable place to be after a loss. And there's a part of me that would say, if there's anything more motivating for all of us and all the things that you look back on, it was like, because Hugs could make that next day absolutely miserable. And we did not want that.
That's right. That's right.
And in today's game, you could not have that same, because I bet all of us would have quit 10 times and went to another school if the same rules back then as they were today.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting about that you're talking about, those ideas you laid out, I'd say quadruple it in terms of today's environment. There's a site I follow, sportsreference.com, that you can look at the history of all the teams, college teams. And at the bottom, it always has percentage points from the year before coming back, percentage rebounds. Well, look at West Virginia. How many points and rebounds are on the team this year from last year? 0, because it's an entirely new team. In fact, you're seeing guys who played for you last year playing for other teams. And so it takes time. Just going back to what Greg said, it takes time. And you're right. I mean, clearly teams in our league, teams like Houston and Arizona are head and shoulders above. There are a lot of good teams in addition to that. But if you look at the schedule, Colorado comes up on Saturday. ESPN says 82% chance of the Mountaineers winning. Then ASU the next Wednesday, ESPN says 69% chance of winning. And then Arizona, 9%. But then you come back and play KSU favored, Baylor favored. And so as a consequence, there are enough places that these guys can come together, and they're still learning to play with each other. Who's going to play the role? There's not a lot of continuity. Although last night, DJ Thomas came up big, 16 points as a freshman. That's great. So, too much falls on Huff, but people just have to be patient. I mean, they just really have to be patient.
Win the games you're supposed to win and take care of home court are the two things that I would advise. Like, when you go into, I remember going to Marquette, I remember going to Pitt, Syracuse. I mean, there were multiple times we went there as a top 20 team and come out there losing by 20 points. And it's just like, it happens. Like, it is unfortunate. Like, momentum is a real thing. It exists. And, like, you can't be thrown off by that. And I think we also had a lot of smart guys that didn't get, like, it wasn't the end of the world. I mean, there were times on the bus where Hugs, let us have it multiple times for a long period of time. And afterwards we'd all get our heads together and, we'd figure it out amongst ourselves. We'd try to find the good in it. We'd try to find something to laugh about. And then we, roll your sleeves up and get back at it the next day to figure out how we're going to beat whoever it is, after that. That was one good thing about Hugs is he was really mad up until we got to the practice, like until we got to be ready to go to the next game. And then it was like, okay, now let's the task at hand is to beat these guys now. Like, I'm still pissed about that loss, but I'm more worried about beating these guys, so I'm not going to talk about that as much.
Yeah, boy. Lessons in coaching. Hey, Greg, we're not going to get our paycheck tonight, and it's huge. We have a nil, Cam, which means we don't get paid. Nil.
Neil, that's what we get. Neil.
No, but we got to talk a little bit about the portal. I mean, this is a football channel, so if we could just we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. Let's talk about the portal. Since a lot of people are probably wondering, hey, aren't you guys going to talk about recruiting the portal? It's actually closed today. Doesn't mean it's not going to continue. It will, but players can't declare after today. But if you could pop up, it doesn't make any difference, Darrin, either the defense or offense, and we can go through this just a few minutes. This is the offense, and the numbers, Cam, are unbelievable. So far from last year, the ins and outs total 67 as of noon today. 27 guys coming in just in the portal. Not to speak of recruits. There are 49 recruits coming in, but this is the portal. 27 guys in from the portal, and 40 guys that were on the roster who are out. And you can see that as you go down to the bottom of that WVU is one of the high numbers in terms of schools, in terms of the out transfers, because he's trying to build a culture, et cetera, et cetera. But the good news is that with the portal class, WVU as of noon today was ranked 16th. Thanks to the information from Keenan Cummings on 3 rivals, 16th in the country and 4th in the Big Ten, holding its own. And I think, Greg, one of the important guys on that list is that quarterback, Hawkins, coming from OU, is going to compete with Scotty, I think, for the starting thing. But one last thing before I turn to you for your comments on the offense. And Cam Cook, by the way, led the nation in rushing last year at Jackson State. Is a lot of people, and we've mentioned this before, but I think it bears repeating, a lot of people get confused about what these rankings mean. the way they work it, which I think is quite intriguing, this does not compare West Virginia's portal class with Texas Tech's. What it does, it compares West Virginia's players that left with the players that are coming in. And so this ranking is West Virginia is ranked 16th in the country in terms of improving its roster from what it was, which I think is a really intriguing and a different way to look at the way we ordinarily think it's pitting one team against the other, but that's not what we have. But your thoughts about what you see so far with the portal, Greg?
Yeah, I talking about the way they rank it, that's a positive sign. I think you look at our roster from this past year, and this is no knock on any of the players or anything, but and looking at the players that left or are leaving, it wasn't the most talented team in the world. And I thought coaching job, I thought Rich Rod did a heck of a job with what he had to work with. And I think it's an indication of him, getting the type of players in there that he wants and needs. He had time this year to do it, where last year was just kind of thrown at him. He had to assemble a roster as quick as he possibly could. I would guess that a lot of those outgoers were encouraged to go, I would think. And looking at the people that he's bringing in offensively, obviously places of need. And I think that's important too, rather than just taking players. You take players that you need in places you need them. And, offensive line obviously stands out. I think the skill positions, especially receivers, is important. But yeah, I think it's an indication of what he's trying to do as far as getting his type of player in, get that culture built up like he wants it. And again, I think a lot of these players that are outgoers, I think they were probably encouraged to go.
Yeah, I agree completely. Darrin, if you could throw that chart up again, there's one piece on that I think bears repeating, and it links to something Greg said. And that is, if you look at the bottom line there, now 40 players have declared, WVU players have declared for the portal. But then if you filter it out in terms of how many of those players have offers in hand, the majority don't have an offer yet. And only 5, I think, if I can count right there, have gotten offers and have signed with a power school. There are a number of other people, like Jaheim White is going to return to play for Neil Brown at North Texas. So there are about 4 or 5 other players, I think maybe as many as 6, who have signed for group of 5 teams, but only 5 players who have declared for the portal are going to major teams: Wisconsin, Penn State, Arkansas, et cetera, et cetera. And that again indicates that the quality, I hate to say it, the quality, but the way I think about this is the baseball statistic war, wins by replacement, that how good a player is if he's replaced by another player. You take a person like Willie Mays, had an out-of-sight war. That's, I think, what On3 and Rivals, and it's really On3, it's their proprietary formula, is trying to do, is basically evaluate the replacements in terms of what you had before. And from that point of view, WVU is making significant progress. If you could throw up the defense one real quickly there, and then we'll wrap things up here. Defense and special teams, you see, and I didn't point out on the offense, there are a lot of offensive linemen, which is something we need definitely. And on this one, you see a lot of D-backs, linebackers, and we need that as well. And special teamers, a couple of kickers, punters, it's I think it's looking good. Texas Tech is still killing it. And the reason they're killing it is because they have the money to spend. I was looking, because I'm a nerd. I asked myself the question, what was the last time, other than this year, the Texas Tech won a conference championship in any conference that Texas Tech has been in. Anybody want to guess? You guys want to guess a year? The last time they won a conference championship, Texas Tech?
91.
Greg, just try it. 91.
78.
Greg, 1954.
I was closer than Greg.
You know what that is? That is, come on down, get the money. I mean, it really is. I mean, the women's basketball team is undefeated. The men's team won the Big 12. The basketball team's doing very, very well. The women's softball team paid a pitcher $1 million to come from Stanford. They almost won the national championship. Cha-ching, cha-ching. They're going to have to change Lubbock to Cha-ching, Texas, because cash registers are going. So what are you going to do?
Yep. Money talks. And, I think it's just the new world. And like we talked earlier, there's got to be some parameters, there's got to be some rules somewhere along the line. Yeah. And, for us to be able to compete year in, year out, it's got something's got to get fixed. And Frank, we've talked about this. It's not sustainable. You can't keep going like this. How many years are they going to be willing to spend that kind of money to do this? Is this going to be a couple-year thing, win a championship, and then bow out? Are they going to do it forever? Where's this money going to come from? Is it going to get more and more money? You just don't think this model is sustainable. And but it is proving that the money talks. And
Greg, I think you bring up a good point there. And don't forget that this is a business at the end of the day. And business tends to figure things out, and it finds the way to level the playing field. I think if they continue, the reason they're throwing this much money into it now is because they can reap there's still an ROI on it that's great. And that's because the fans are unbelievable, still doing what they're still paying the ticket prices that Frank mentioned earlier. However, if they don't get this fixed, they'll start to lose people won't care about college basketball as much. They'll stop watching it. They'll fall out of love. You're going to lose your market share. Those guys are going to go do something else, and then that is not worth so much. So, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of really smart people out there who are going to hopefully get there and figure out that we need to put some parameters around this before it gets out of hand. But if not, you give it a few years and it'll be, it'll run. You can already see Live Golf is already starting. Brooks Koepka is already pulling out of there. That's that ain't even been 3 years, and they threw billions at them.
Yep.
And it's like, that's not – so there's got to be the product that you put on the floor. And what is hard for me is what it hasn't hurt me as much as I'm still a West Virginia fan. I'm a West Virginia fan because I'm a Mountaineer, and I will root for them no matter who's in what. I'm going to hit the channel. If it's the rifle team who are really good that I know nothing about, I'll stop and at least watch and support. But I can't be a fan of Big Monday anymore that used to be where you watched Kansas and all these other teams. And it's you're a fan of college basketball. And I remember I would know all the players in their rotations and be able to, and they're back and see them and watch them progress and watch them have a tie to a university there's pride there. It's you can see it. And it's that is all almost been erased within just a few short years. And it's you got to get that under control. If that's the biggest red flag, in my opinion, outside of just being irresponsible and giving these kids all this money and having them develop bad habits or waste money that couldn't change their life if you just did something a little bit different. But I'm hopeful, I'm cautiously optimistic that something will get done within the next couple years to hopefully calm things down. It may not be the end all be all, but it will at least calm the waters.
That's a really wise way of looking at it. What's working now is working, in the return on investment for certain schools. It's huge. And I think West Virginia is going to be very competitive in that. But if you look at it from the longer term, going back to what Greg said, it's unsustainable. And what you end up doing is you run the risk of losing your fan base. And if you lose the fan base, when you consider where's a lot of this money coming from, it's coming from eyeballs on media. So and so you're absolutely correct. This has just been fantastic, Greg, to have Cam with us. I mean,
it's been great.
Oh my God. You're only going to be with us for 30 minutes and you could have your own show. You were great. Just super.
I'll come back.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, this hour flew by. I kept thinking, I looked down at the clock and saw the hour was up. I was like, my gosh, it flew by. You know, when that happens, that's been a good one. And yeah, Cam can do his own show. He don't need us being in his way. That's for sure. But yeah, this has been fantastic, Cam. But we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us. We really, really, truly enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun.
Sure. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Mountaineer fans. I'm hopeful that we'll get back to those days of the basketball and football being in the top 10.
Yep.
You know, like the old days.
Yep, we'll get there. Got to have faith. That's right. All right, thanks, Cam Thoughtman, legendary basketball player at WVU, great guest, and Frank, as always, impressed by not only their time at WVU, but their time after WVU. Another one in the book here for sure.
Yeah, we've been talking with Cam since October, trying to find a date he could come on, and it was very much worth the wait. He's first rate. You can see, smart guy. I mean, he's got a lot of street smarts with head smarts. You put the two together, and you get what comes out is a lot of wisdom. So he's a person people should listen to. Anyway, we got another good one next week, Darrin, if you could throw that up. And Greg, you remember Wes Hours. Express. That is one of my favorite photos because you could just see this guy, that number 2 saying, shit, I'm not going to catch him.
Do I have to catch him? Probably what he's thinking. Do I have to? Yeah, he was he was the beer truck before the other beer truck came along.
That's it. That's exactly the case. He was the beer truck before the beer truck. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, he was a big guy.
Another great find by Mark Parsons.
Yep, absolutely. Looking forward to it. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. And we'll go watch Winthrop. They're up 19. Yeah. Frank, with about 6 minutes ago, talk about the Neal real quick. I was talking to my son. He was telling me he did the scouting report on High Point, and he was talking about their Neal money. Unbelievable. Of course, they're the number 1 team in the conference, and for good reason. And he said they had every player, their top 8 players, either were Division I from a Power 5 school, or all conference, top conference player in the lower divisions that they were in. And I forget how many millions he said that they paid. He said it was unreal, the difference in the budgets, that High Point and Winthrop had. But right now that money's not making a difference because we're kicking our ass 77-59.
Well, we played them in the NCAA soccer tournament in the second round, and I'm saying to myself, okay, this is going to be an easy one. I'm saying, I remember what Greg said about High Point, and High Point won. So they do. They do. And the women are coming back. It's 36-33. TCU's ranked number 10 in the country. They're 16-1. And I'll tell you what, if West Virginia, talk about a schedule that is front loaded with games on the road. Just played Kansas on the road. And so here we are at TCU, 38-33, being Iowa State, excuse me, not Kansas, on the road. And we did play Kansas on the road earlier. Kansas State, Iowa State, now TCU on the road. And we're only behind by 5 now, 38-33. Yep. So it's on ESPN Plus.
Yep, Big 12 is no joke, that's for sure. Yep. All right, that's going to do it for tonight. Frank, appreciate you. Appreciate our guest, Cam Thoughtman, for joining us. Darrin, behind the scenes doing all the work. Wish Mickey all the best to get well and get back with us next week. So we'll have Wes Ayers on the show with us next week. Thanks again to Mark Parsons for all his hard work and time he puts into this. Line up our guests for us, so we appreciate him as well. I also want to thank all of you for watching, and we look forward to coming to you again next Wednesday night. Have a great evening, everybody. Let's go Mountaineers.